the online classes, I have taken this topic, but many of you were absent during the class, and I don't think many will be present today also. I can only see 13 people in the class. Anyways, I will discuss the topic, and after today, please inform those who have missed that it will not be done. They should study on their own, because one topic cannot be continuously taught. If they are absent from the class, it's their responsibility. So, part 4 of the Indian Constitution, you know that part 3 of the Indian Constitution provides for fundamental rights. Part 4 of the Indian Constitution provides for directive principles of state policy. Directive principles of state policy. And it is contained in Article 36 to 51 of the Constitution. Directive principles are there from Article 36 to 51. That is 16 articles of the Constitution provides for directive principles of state policy. Now, the directive principles of state politics are socio-economic in nature. They provide for certain socio-economic rights and freedoms to the citizens of India. In the preamble, there is the objective that is written, that the nature of the state will be, India will be a sovereign, socialist, secular, democratic republic. So the word socialist here is actually reflected how they want India to be a socialist state, how they want India to be a welfare state. That is reflected in the directive principles of state policy. Through directive principles of state policy, they wanted to provide the citizens of India socialism, and um, also they wanted to provide the people of India justice. Like you have studied that in the preamble, to secure to its people justice, equality, fraternity, liberty, all these things are there, no? So justice, if these are followed, if directive principles are provided, then people will also secure justice. Mainly, not political justice, you can say, is provided in fundamental rights, but socio-economic justice. So, these directive principles are, their main objective is to provide socialism in India and also to provide socio-economic justice. They are socio-economic rights. Why I'm again and again saying if they are provided? Because the constitution did not make it, compulsory for the government or the policy makers to provide to the citizens directive principles of state policy. It is not compulsory for them to provide. If directive principles are violated or not provided, then citizens cannot go to court of law. That is, directive principles are not justiciable. You cannot go to court of law and ask for justice if any of the directive principles are violated, or they are, not provided. However, if they are any of the directive principle has been implemented by law, then it becomes justiciable. But until it is implemented as law, it is not justiciable. So you don't go to court of law for asking for justice on the basis of directive principles of state policy. Now, directive principles, as the name says, they are directions. They are directions given to the policy makers and the government to, follow as much as possible these principles while making their policies, or while, administering the countries. So, as I told you, there are the directive principles are provided in part 4 of the Indian Constitution and from Article 36 to 51 of the Indian Constitution. Now, there are some features of the directive principles of state policy. First of all, as we already discussed, that the main objective of providing DPSP in Part 4 of Indian Constitution is to provide a welfare state which will have social, economic and political justice. That is the main, objective of DPSP. This much did you understand? This much did you understand? Yes or no? Did you understand this much? Yes or no? Any response?
Yes, ma'am.
Any confusion if you have?
Yes.
Anything you did not understand till here? Any point that you did not understand, please ask. Is there any point which you did not understand? Is there any point which you did not understand? No point. You understood everything? Okay. Then let's proceed. In between, if you did not understand any point, you can just stop me and ask to repeat or to explain it again. The second feature of DPSP is, as I told you, DPSP are not enforceable by courts. So nobody can go to the court and ask for justice on the basis of DPSP. Then DPSP is described as the compass of the Constitution. That is, it details objectives contained in the preamble of the Constitution. What were the objectives? That is liberty, equality, fraternity. Mainly they showcase or they extend the explanation of the word justice, social, economic and political. So these are the main characteristics of DPSP. Now, from Article 36 to 51, every DPSP cannot be remembered. Okay, that is not possible, but generally we should know what are the DPSP. All the DPSP can be categorized into 4 categories. Okay. The DPSP, the Directive Principles of State Policy, which we call DPSP. Also, DPSP can be divided into 4 categories. The first category is Socialistic Principles. So, some of the DPSP, they fall under the socialistic principles. That is, they try to provide through these DPSP, the constitution makers wanted to make India a welfare state, welfare and socialistic state. Now, you must know that India is also supposed to be a socialist state. Not socialism in the way China is, not Marxism, but democratic socialism, which was actually one of the ideology that was, envisioned by J.L. Nehru himself. Jawaharlal Nehru himself was a socialist, but he was a democratic socialist, not a Marxian socialist. So he chose his idea that India would become a socialist state, democratic socialism. So how will India become a socialist state? It is more or less given in the Directive Principles of State Policy. Some of the principles that are provided, I will take a book if you follow. Under the socialist principles, there are 11 principles that are discussed. I'm going to discuss some of the principles. First of all, the state should try to secure the welfare of the people and provide its people justice, social, economic and political. Yes, the state should provide adequate means of livelihood. Adequate means of livelihood to all citizens, men as well as women. It should also prevent the concentration of wealth and means of production. The concentration of wealth and means of production wealth and means of production should not be concentrated in few hands. It should be, as much as possible, it should be distributed among all the people of the society. Workers should be protected, men and women, and children should be prevented from entering vocations unsuited to their age or strength. You know, this is by law now that children below 14 years of age cannot be employed in hazardous conditions. They cannot be employed in different, firecracker industries or match making industries, or different beedi factories and so on, which will be hazardous to health. So in those places children cannot be employed. This is actually implementation of directive principle. Government by law has implemented this directive principle. So it's actually a directive principle which was implemented by law. Then another directive principle is equal pay for equal work for both men and women. If you give the same amount of service, or if you give the same amount of labor, you should get the same payment. There should not be gender bias in your payment. Okay, so that is also a Dpsp, and which is also in the, at least in the organized sector. I cannot talk about the, I don't think it's always there in the unorganized sector, but in the organized sector it is the rule that equal pay for equal work. Another very interesting, I feel this is the most interesting and most relevant, you can relate to it more, that is state should provide education and to public assistance in cases of unemployment, old age, sickness, and disability. This is in Article 41. To secure right to work, to education, to public assistance in cases of unemployment, old age, sickness, and disability. You see, various types of pensions are given by government, or various types of schemes are launched by the government. Old age pensions are given to the people belonging to poor families, older persons above 60 years or above. They are given a pension of 1000. In Tripura it is 1000, it varies from state to state. In Tripura they are given 1000 rupees, and from 80 years or above they are supposed to be given 1200 rupees per month by government. Then widows. There is a scheme, Indira Gandhi National Widow Pension Scheme. Widows, those who are unemployed widows from poor families, they are also given pension of 1000 rupees, I think. Then there are pension given to housemaids. There are pension given to unmarried women who are 40 years or above, who has not been married and who are not having any means of income. They are belonging to poor families, even they are given scheme like this. And then the MGN Rega, Mahatma Gandhi National Rural Employment Generation Act, that is also an implementation of Dpsp. So providing MGN Rega, or in urban areas to Tripura, for example, in Tripura Urban Employment Program, people are given employment of 100 days or around 100 days by the government. Why? To provide assistance, which is said in Dpsp, to provide assistance, to provide right to work and public assistance in cases of unemployment, old age, disablement, sickness. Then another is to provide for just and human conditions of work. If those who are working, whether in organized sector or unorganized sector, the conditions of work should be just. They should have a maximum period of hours of work. Beyond that, they should not work. Then there should be some other conditions like their payment, then maternity relief, when they get pregnant, when they are and they deliver a baby, they should be given 6 months of work, payment, with, leave with payment. Then now the government of Tripura has started the CCL, child care leave. All of these are actually implementation of DPSP only. Like that, some socialist principles are there under Article 38, 39, 41, 42 and 43. 38, 39, 41, 42 and 43. Which category of DPSP? The socialist principles. The second category are the Gandhian principles. Now, these are the principles which are derived from the Gandhian philosophy. Some of the principles, many of the principles actually, which fall under the Gandhian principles have been already implemented. For example, they said that to organize the panchayats, to organize the village panchayats and give them adequate powers and authority. The 73rd Amendment Act, which constituted the panchayati system into the three-tier panchayati system, and the 74th Amendment, through which municipalities and municipal corporations are organized, are actually implementation of this DPSP under Gandhian principle to organize village panchayats and local self-government. Then another DPSP is to promote cottage industries on an individual and cooperative basis. Now see, cottage industries, small scale industries, you have different small scale industries, like for example khadi. It has now been it's called I think All India Khadi Board or something like that they call it, and it's a government protected, I mean it's a semi government organization. And in khadi, what do they sell? The small scale and cottage industries goods. Why do they do it? Government is giving this kind of promotion to cottage and small scale industries for implementation of DPSP. Not only this, different silk boards like Tripura Silk Board, or like in Tripura, if you see the handicrafts, Purbasha, is a semi-government organization, or West Bengal they have Tontuj. So like that, many small-scale industries are being promoted. Every state has, there are various central, like that, the Coir Board, for example, the Coir Board, All India Coir Board. So that is also, these are all what? Implementation of DPSP. Government is promoting small scale and cottage industries, not only promoting, protecting them so that they don't perish, okay, they stay, they survive and they grow. So that is another Gandhian principle. Then what else did they say? To promote educational and economic interests of the scheduled castes and scheduled tribes. Education, they are given reservation. In jobs also sometimes they are given reservation, okay, like the STs, scheduled tribes, they are exempted even from paying income tax and so on. So economic interest and educational interest should be protected, especially of the people belonging to the scheduled caste and scheduled tribes. So reservation in different areas have been done, and that is implementation of DPSP. Then prohibition of consumption of intoxicating drinks and drugs. Now everywhere it is not prohibited, but in some states, if you take the like India, Gujarat completely it's banned. Intoxicating liquor and all, it is completely banned because Gujarat is the land of Gandhi. And regarding these things also, everywhere it is not promoted. There are restrictions in the use of intoxicating drinks and drugs. Then they also said to organize agriculture and animal husbandry. So different veterinary colleges are open. There is a veterinary college in Tripura as well, in Khairpur. Then different agricultural universities. Just in our neighborhood of Holy Cross College, there is an agricultural college, isn't it? To protect and organize, to promote agriculture and animal husbandry, different types of steps are taken, like universities are open, different farms, different cooperatives are protected. Like the Gomoti cooperative, it's a milk cooperative, isn't it? Or Amul, those things are promoted. Okay, Gandhian principles. Third are liberal principles. Liberal principles are those which are associated with freedom. Hmm. First principle is to provide or to secure uniform civil code, that is same kind of law. Civil code means same law, IPC, Indian Penal Code, and same type of law for all Indians. Then to provide free and compulsory education to all children. You know that we have this now, Sarva Shiksha Abhiyan. It's an implementation of DPSP. Below 14 years, all children, it is compulsory for all children to go to schools, and for which, to ensure that also the midday meal scheme has been started. And this is no more a right to get, um, not only a right to get compulsory education up to 14 years, but it is also a fundamental duty now. Originally, there were 10 fundamental duties. One more fundamental duty has been added. Now we have 11 fundamental duties. And the last fundamental duty is the parents should send their children up to the age of 14 years. It's compulsory for the parents to send their children to school. So that is also a fundamental right as well as a fundamental duty now. Then another is to separate the judiciary from the executive, which is also implemented. Judiciary is not controlled by the executive in India. Then to provide free legal aid to the poor. So if those who cannot afford, if they go to court for any case of justice, they cannot hire and advocate themselves. State is supposed to provide them the legal aid, free legal aid. That is, state will provide them an advocate to fight for them. That is also implemented. So these were under the liberal principles, the third category of directive principles. The fourth category of directive principles are general principles, which are to protect and improve the environment, to safeguard the forest. The wildlife has been protected by various laws. Forests are declared as uh, reserve forests. There are certain animals which are identified as endangered species, and special protection is being given to them. Then another general principle is to protect every monument or place or object of artistic or historic interest. They should be protected from spoiling, disfigurement, destruction, removal, disposal, or export. So they are being protected. It's restricted. Every monument and place cannot be visited just freely. Plus, in every such place, you have these boards where they say the do's and don'ts, what you cannot do over there. You are restricted to do certain things. And there is punishment or penalty for spoiling or destroying the property also. So, those things are done. Then, to promote international peace and security, to maintain just and honorable relations between nations, to respect international law and treaty obligations, and to encourage a settlement of international disputes by arbitration, that is, peaceful settlement of international disputes. So, all of this comes under the general principles. Now, next part of the discussion will be implementation of DPSP. But implementation I have already discussed. So you can make it as separate part also. First you mention those principles, then you discuss the implementation. Now there are some okay, one more characteristic I forgot to mention. I mentioned three, but you can write four characteristics. One more characteristic of DPSP is that if there is a conflict between a DPSP and a fundamental right, Constitution says that fundamental right will get preference. I repeat, if there is a conflict between a DPSP and a fundamental right, Constitution says that DPSP fundamental right will get preference. However, there have been exceptions. One very important and interesting exception that has happened is in 1950. Originally we had seven fundamental rights. One of the rights which is no longer a fundamental right was right to property. Now it has been turned into a legal right, right to property. So it came in conflict with the Dpsp. What was that Dpsp? Distribution of land, abolition of zamindari system. That was the Dpsp. And it came in conflict with the fundamental right, which is right to property. Now, when they wanted to abolish zamindari system, confiscate the extra land from the zamindars and distribute it among the landless peasants, the zamindars, they referred to the right to property in courts, and they said, because we have fundamental right to property, you cannot take our land from us. In that situation, Parliament by law abolished right to property from the list of fundamental rights and declared it as a legal right and implemented the Dpsp. So you see that how it was an exception, that even whereas the constitution said that fundamental right will be given preference in case of a conflict between a Dpsp and fundamental right, but here the one fundamental right was deleted itself from the list in order to ensure that the Dpsp is implemented. So that also can be a feature that you can mention. Okay. Then comes the criticism against Dpsp. What are the criticism? First criticism is that they lack legal force. That is, you cannot go to court and challenge if a Dpsp is not provided. So um, they lack legal force. Because they lack legal force, the second criticism arises is that they are mere declarations. They cannot be observed and secured by the state. Third is they are unsystematic in nature. They are not properly and classified and systematically written down. Fourth criticism is that they have lack of clarity. It's difficult to sometimes understand the Dpsp. Some of the Dpsp have been repeated in different places and so on. Like another clarity example, they said to promote international peace and friendly cooperation among all states. How will that be possible? How to secure it? There is no proper guideline given here. Fifth criticism is that they are reactionary in nature. That is, they are, I mean, they are reactionary in nature. Sometimes because of Dpsp, certain steps cannot be taken by the government and so on. Six, impracticable. They are impractical. Seven, they are borrowed principles because they are Fabian socialism. Their foundation, they say, is Fabian socialism, and they are not original thing. Something they are obsolete, not uh, concrete. They lack. You know, they are not very specific. That is the meaning. Superfluous. They often superfluous means they are very complex and complicated. And they are mere promises. So some criticisms come against this Dpsp. Now, last what will we write is the justification or significance of Dpsp. First justification is Dpsp is supported by the people of India. They are backed by public opinion, and all the governments that have come to power have tried to follow Dpsp because if they follow Dpsp, those governments are usually, they become very popular among the people and they have better chances of winning in the next election. So they are backed by public opinion. Second is they provide for a welfare state. Then third is they provide us moral ideals in politics. or political morality. They provide political morality, what should be done, what should not be done in politics, and understanding of that they provide. And they constitute a guide for the state. They are a guide to the government while making policies and laws so that justice can be secured to the people of India. Then they are supplementary to fundamental rights. What could not have been written down in fundamental rights or provided in fundamental rights, they supplement those. They add those things to the constitution. And then they are the yardstick for measuring the worth of the government, how much the government is effective, how much the government is people oriented can be measured by how importantly it has followed and implemented DPSP. Then they are helpful in interpreting or explaining the constitution, um, and things like that. These are the significance of DPSP and justification of DPSP. Now tell me, did you understand? Did you understand? The silence means yes or no. Did you understand?
Yes, ma'am.
Um, if you when you make a note, you should make a note like this. First of all, what are DPSP? Where it is found? What do they provide? An introduction covering these points. You can also write the features in the introduction. Then you will discuss the DPSP under the categories. Then you will write the implementation. Then you will write the criticisms. And last, you will write the justification or significance of DPSP. Okay? Okay? Did you understand?
Yes,
Yes,
ma'am.
ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
Did you get the material on this? Did I share the material already? I forgot. I think I shared the material, no? Did I share? Do you remember? I think I did. Maybe I did not share. I will share the material. Okay. Do you need the material or do you have it? Do you have the KK Ghai book? Do you have the KK Ghai book?
No, ma'am. Please share. No, ma'am.
Okay. Then I will share. Okay. Thank you and have a nice day. After few minutes, you will get the material in my Google Classroom.
Okay, ma'am.
Yeah. If you have any question, you can ask. Do you have any question?
Ma'am, this implementation part, how many points we need to write?
At least 5-6 points you prepare.
Okay, ma'am.
Yeah. Any other question you want to ask on DPSP? Do you have any question? Yes or no? I cannot listen to your silence, please. Yes or no? You can say at least this much. You have any
No,
question?
ma'am.
No, ma'am.
Okay, then let's conclude the class.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am.